Imagine someone insults you in public. Everyone expects you to explode, defend yourself, maybe even fight back. But instead, you stay calm. You don't flinch. You don't raise your voice. You simply smile and walk away. At that moment, you win. Not because you shouted louder, but because you refuse to give them control over your emotions. The truth is, your greatest power doesn't come from reacting. It comes from not reacting. And the ancient Stoics mastered this art thousands of years ago. Today, we'll explore 5 Stoic rules that prove the incredible power of not reacting, and how you can use them to control your emotions in any situation. Rule number 1. Pause before you respond. In a world where everything demands an instant reaction, messages popping up on your phone, arguments exploding on social media, or someone cutting you off in traffic, the ability to pause is more powerful than ever. The Stoics believe that our true strength isn't in reacting faster than others, but in mastering the art of not reacting at all until we choose to. This is where the first Stoic rule comes in. Pause before you respond. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher king, once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." What he meant was simple. No matter what happens around you, it's your interpretation and reaction that define the outcome. The pause is the gateway to that power. It's the moment where emotion meets reason, where instinct collides with wisdom. Think about how most conflicts escalate. Someone insults you, and before your brain processes the words, your tongue fires back. Anger spreads, tempers flare, and soon you're trapped in a cycle of reaction. But what if, instead of reacting, you took one deep breath, allowed silence to do its work, and gave yourself permission to think? That single pause can mean the difference between chaos and control. The Stoics weren't emotionless robots. They felt anger, sadness, and frustration like everyone else. The difference is that they practiced discipline in managing those emotions. For them, a pause was not weakness, it was strategy. Imagine being in a heated debate. If you snap back, you're playing the other person's game. If you stay quiet, reflect for just a moment, and then speak with calm precision, you've already won. Your composure becomes your shield. Modern psychology backs this up. Research shows that emotional reactions spike in the first 90 seconds of a trigger. If you can hold back, just for those moments, the emotional intensity naturally decreases. The Stoics knew this centuries ago without neuroscience. They trained themselves to delay their reactions, knowing clarity would soon follow. This practice applies everywhere. In relationships, it prevents regretful words. In business, it allows better decisions under pressure. In personal life, it shields you from becoming a prisoner of impulse. A simple exercise. Next time you feel provoked, silently count to 5 before responding. Notice how the fire dims just a little, how clarity sneaks in. That's Stoicism in action. It may feel small, but over time it reshapes your character. Here's the deeper truth. When you pause, you're not just controlling your reaction. You're reclaiming ownership of yourself. Instead of being a puppet pulled by emotions, you become the one holding the strings. And in that moment, you unlock one of the greatest Stoic powers, freedom. So remember this rule. Pause before you respond. In silence, you gain strength. In patience, you find clarity. And in choosing not to react instantly, you prove mastery over the only thing you truly control, yourself. Rule number 2. Separate what you can control from what you cannot. One of the most powerful truths in Stoic philosophy is that much of our suffering does not come from the events themselves, but from our desperate attempt to control what was never ours to command. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic teachers, put it simply, "Some things are up to us, and some things are not." That sentence alone can free a person from years of frustration, anger, and wasted energy if taken seriously. The Stoics believe that life is full of chaos. Other people's actions, natural disasters, random misfortunes, and even death itself. But none of these are truly within our hands. What we can control, and what we are fully responsible for, are our thoughts, choices, and responses. Everything else is noise. Imagine this. You're driving to an important meeting and suddenly hit heavy traffic. Most people would react with rage, cursing the other drivers, blaming the city, and working themselves into a storm of stress. But what does that achieve? The traffic doesn't move faster because you're angry. Your frustration doesn't part the cars like Moses parting the sea. All you've done is handed over your peace of mind to something beyond your control. The Stoic approach, instead, would be to focus only on what you can still influence. Maybe use the time to rehearse your presentation in your head, listen to an audiobook, or simply breathe and stay calm. The event hasn't changed, but your relationship to it has. This is not passivity. People often misunderstand Stoicism as being about giving up or becoming indifferent. But separating what you can and cannot control is actually about empowerment. If you know where your power lies, you no longer waste your life chasing shadows. You stop trying to bend the world to your will, and instead focus on perfecting your inner strength. That is real control, the kind that can't be taken away by bad luck, betrayal, or the cruelty of others. Think about relationships. You cannot control whether someone likes you, loves you, or treats you fairly. You can't dictate their thoughts or choices, but you can control your own integrity, your words, and the boundaries you set. You can choose to walk away rather than beg for validation. This is how Stoicism creates emotional resilience, by showing you that your dignity and peace of mind don't depend on forces outside of you. Every day, life will test this rule. A rude comment online, a boss in a bad mood, an unexpected loss. The Stoic response isn't to deny the difficulty, but to immediately separate what belongs to you from what doesn't. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That is the heart of the rule. When you stop wasting energy on what's out of your hands, you redirect it toward mastering yourself. And that's where your true freedom lies. Rule number 3. Master the pause before you respond. One of the most underrated, yet most powerful Stoic practices is the art of pausing before you respond. In a world where everyone is conditioned to react instantly, whether through anger, defensiveness, or impulsive speech, the Stoics teach us that the real strength lies not in the speed of your reaction, but in your ability to hold back, breathe, and choose your response with wisdom. Marcus Aurelius once reminded himself, "If someone does wrong, it is because they are ignorant of what is right." This mindset helped him remain calm even when provoked, and the same principle can transform your own life. The pause acts as a protective shield. It creates a gap between the trigger and your reaction, a sacred space where reason can intervene before emotion takes over. Think about the last time you snapped at someone in frustration. In that heated moment, your words might have felt justified, but later, you probably regretted the sharp tone or the damage it caused to your relationship. That regret is proof that reacting without pause robs you of clarity. By mastering the pause, you step outside the storm of emotion and allow yourself to see the situation from a broader perspective. Instead of saying something you'll regret, you may choose silence, or perhaps a calm and measured response that disarms the conflict entirely. This doesn't mean suppressing your feelings. It means giving your rational mind a chance to lead before your emotions dictate the course. Practicing this rule in daily life can be as simple as taking a single deep breath when you feel provoked. Count to 3 before replying to criticism, or remind yourself silently, "I am not a slave to my emotions." Over time, this habit builds resilience and authority over your inner state. People who lash out are seen as weak and uncontrolled, while those who respond thoughtfully earn respect, influence, and trust. The pause becomes your weapon, not against others, but against your own impulsive nature. In truth, mastering the pause is not just about controlling your words, it's about controlling your destiny. Every decision you make in moments of high emotion has the potential to alter your life's direction, sometimes drastically. One angry outburst can destroy years of trust. One impulsive decision can derail your goals, and one thoughtless reaction can close doors permanently. By pausing, you ensure that you act from a place of strength rather than weakness. The Stoics believe that wisdom begins with self-mastery, and self-mastery begins with learning to pause. When you control the gap between what happens and how you respond, you take back the power that most people give away. And that power, the power of choice, is the foundation of true freedom. Rule number 4. Choose response over reaction. There's a subtle but powerful difference between reacting and responding, and this difference can change the course of your life. A reaction is immediate, impulsive, and usually driven by emotion. It's when someone cuts you off in traffic, and your blood pressure spikes, and you slam the horn, screaming insults they'll never hear. A response, however, is deliberate. It's the pause you take before you act. The moment of self-control where you choose not to let someone else dictate your emotions or actions. The Stoics knew that real power comes not from controlling others, but from mastering yourself. By learning to respond instead of react, you step into a position of control over your own mind. Think about how much damage reactions cause. A hasty text sent in anger can ruin a friendship. A heated argument, where you let frustration boil over, can create wounds that last years. Even small things, a sarcastic comment, a slammed door, a defensive tone, can spiral into bigger conflicts. Most people don't realize that in those microseconds of reacting, they're handing their power away. They're allowing external events, or other people's behavior, to control them like puppets. The Stoics would argue that you are not truly free until you can resist that pull. Responding, on the other hand, requires discipline and awareness. It doesn't mean you stay silent or suppress how you feel. It means you take ownership of your emotions and decide how to use them. When Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." He was pointing directly at this idea. He wasn't asking you to become numb, but to recognize that nothing outside of you deserves control over your inner peace. The pause between stimulus and response is where wisdom lives. The next time you feel provoked, notice your body. Your heart races, your face gets hot, your thoughts sharpen into something aggressive. That's the reaction trying to grab hold. But if you step back, count to 3, take a breath, reframe the situation, you'll find that you have options. Maybe instead of lashing out, you calmly explain yourself. Maybe instead of escalating, you let it go entirely. Maybe you choose humor instead of hostility. Whatever your choice, it's your choice, not the product of raw impulse. The power of not reacting lies in this freedom. When you choose response, you protect relationships, maintain your dignity, and keep control of your path forward. You stop being a slave to circumstance. You stop being predictable, manipulated by every push or insult. And over time, people begin to notice. They respect the calm person in the storm. They admire the one who doesn't lose their head when others do. This is the essence of Stoic strength. Not the absence of feeling, but the ability to direct it wisely. Because in the end, life isn't about what happens to you. It's about how you choose to meet it. Rule number 5. Focus only on what you can control. One of the core principles of Stoicism, and perhaps the greatest secret to emotional resilience, is the practice of focusing only on what you can control and letting go of everything else. On the surface, this sounds simple, but if you look at your own life, you'll realize how much energy you waste worrying about things completely outside your influence. What people think of you, whether the world is fair, whether opportunities come your way, or whether life goes according to plan. The Stoics taught that all of this is wasted effort. True freedom comes from drawing a clear line between what belongs to you and what doesn't. Epictetus put it bluntly, "Some things are in our control and others not. In our control are our thoughts, our choices, our actions, our values. Not in our control are the opinions of others, the randomness of fate, or the twists of fortune." Yet most people live as though the reverse were true. They burn themselves out trying to manage the uncontrollable, chasing approval, fearing rejection, obsessing over the future, while neglecting the one realm they have absolute power over, their own mind. When you internalize this rule, something shifts inside you. Suddenly, insults lose their sting, because you cannot control what someone says, only how you hear it. Failure stops being terrifying, because you cannot control the outcome, only your effort. Even fear of the future softens, because the future isn't yours to command, but your preparation in the present moment is. The Stoic learns to live in a smaller circle of concern, but within that circle, they are a master. Modern life constantly tempts you to forget this. Social media, for example, pulls you into endless comparisons. You see someone richer, stronger, or more attractive, and you despair. But ask yourself, can you control their life? No. You can only control your discipline, your growth, your path. Anxiety about politics, the economy, or global events works the same way. You can't control the entire world, but you can control your choices within it. You can vote, speak wisely, help your neighbor, or act with integrity. Beyond that, worry is wasted energy. The Stoic doesn't waste strength fighting shadows. Instead, he directs all his energy to what lies within his grasp. And here's the paradox. When you stop obsessing over what you can't control, you become far more powerful in the areas that truly matter. By mastering yourself, you become steady in a world that constantly tries to shake you. That is the essence of Stoic strength, a fortress built within, unbothered by the chaos outside.